Hi, I'm Jackie Hardy with NDG Live. And as part of our Broadway Dallas series, we are so excited to be speaking with Sharrod Williams. Sharrod is in the upcoming production of Moulin Rouge, the musical. We were speaking with Sharrod about his feature role as Pierre in this upcoming production that will be at the Dallas Music Hall at Fair Park from March 15th through April 2nd. We know you'll enjoy this conversation. Thanks for watching. Well, thank you, Sharrod Williams, for allowing us some time to interview with North Dallas Gazette. I'm Jackie Hardy, by the way. And so it's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, because I know y'all are busy.
I mean,
So,
it has its highs and lows schedule
does it?
wise, but like it's been a good journey and a balanced one for me at least.
That's good. Now, you hail from New Jersey, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Can you kind of just share with our viewers kind of your background and how did your path lead you to the performing arts and theater?
Sure. So I come from a big family, a big extended family,
Okay.
and I'd say everyone is on some level and some medium artistically inclined. So
Wow.
music is sort of the biggest of those mediums and the most consistent. So like my dad sings and I started singing in church. And I always say he didn't have that moment like you see in a TV show or a sitcom where
Okay.
he's walking past the bathroom and his son is singing in the shower and he's like, oh my God, my son can sing. Like it wasn't really like that. It's just like
Okay.
he was a singer, so he just figured his sons could sing.
That's
Um,
right. It's in your blood, right?
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, which was
Yeah.
kind of cool to have that support system early on and
Okay.
any sort of artistic opportunity that we had I'm from New York specifically, any
Okay.
sort of artistic opportunity we had, my dad threw us in there. So I went to a boy choir
Wow.
school for elementary and middle school. All my brothers did, and I
How many
continued on.
brothers? How many siblings do you have?
So there's three of us. So
Oh,
I'm the
wow.
middle
Okay.
child. So I have
Oh,
an
you're
older
the
brother
middle.
and a
Okay.
younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah, and you come from same city as the great Whitney Houston, right?
Yep.
So
That is
that's it.
correct. That is
Yeah,
correct.
no,
Absolutely.
that is great. So it was just kind of embedded in you from sounds like childhood, and you stated that you went to some performing arts schools. So I'm sure that really kind of helped hone your craft.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It started with classical music specifically
Oh, wow.
in the early years and even through high school at the Performing Arts High School in Newark, Arts High. And then college, I just sort of felt this standstill of here's these sort of careers that I've been exposed to, at least in terms of like classical music, of
Okay.
what I could like pursue. And my soul just wasn't really invested or interested. So I kind of was like, I'm gonna go to college undeclared and I'll just figure it out.
That's
I'll go to a
smart.
school that has a lot of options and God and life will align. It'll just happen.
That's
And it
right.
did. So I started dancing and that came from left from my parents, sort of. Like I always had an interest as a kid, after seeing the movie Center Stage. And it never really got the chance to be explored until I got to college. And then I was like, I have to try this. I don't want to be 30 and look back and wish I never tried.
Yeah.
So I went for it, took my first ballet class, fell in love, was naturally gifted, was like the best in the class. And I just was like, I know I'm going to want to continue this. So why
Yeah.
not be a dance major? Fast forward to senior year of college, they're doing, the musical theater department is doing a musical that was right for me and had a part for me. And our
Yeah.
audition just wanted to be a dancer in the back. And the department chair was like, no, I think you really have to do this.
Right.
Yeah. So, without even
Wow.
knowing, it was setting me up for what I'm doing now.
That is awesome, and such a great, I think message to our audience to be willing to do some of those things that maybe conventionally you wouldn't think of doing, right? Because you never know.
100%.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sharad. And
Of course.
with this being a long-standing Tony Award-winning production, Moulin Rouge the musical, How do you take that all in without letting it kind of overwhelm you? I know this isn't your first rodeo. I know you've been in a lot of great Broadway productions, similar to Moulin Rouge, the musical. But how do you kind of, not let that all overwhelm you? Because that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think what's exciting about doing it on tour is we're always in a new space and a new place. So there's so many other factors that layer on top of doing like this big commercial Broadway show that take up your energy and your time. And, you're constantly trying to find balance and trying to be grounded and trying to sustain in a sense.
Mhm.
So I think that that is enough of a to-do
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
can really lean into the hype and the praise that comes with like being a part of this Tony Award winning show. So for
absolutely.
me, at least, that's been my journey so far, and just
Yeah,
finding where I fit in, right? Like what I can bring to the table as a performer, as a person, and holding true to that. That's
yeah.
been my way of staying, level-headed and grounded.
That's great. No, that makes it keep you centered for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really good. And I know when you're in a city and you see regular people that they're there and they are so excited to be there. There's a
Oh
humbling,
yeah.
I'm sure, with that as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you're part of the ensemble. Can you kind of speak to, yeah, what all that entails?
Of course. So I
Yeah.
actually play the feature role Pierre. He is the
Partner, you mean?
he's like the I mean, he's a part of the villain's journey, I guess, in a sense.
Okay.
Like he is the one that basically tattletales on the lead character, Satine and Christian, and their like secret love they had.
Okay,
And he's the
sure.
reason why the Duke, who seemingly has come to save the day and save the club, no longer is invested, because with that, he's trying to find love with Satine, but she loves Christian. So I'm the reason why it all falls apart. And,
The
because
nemesis a little bit, huh?
yeah, like it's so like, oh,
Gotta
it's
have
like not
one.
me as a person organically, but it's
Yeah.
fun to kind of sink my teeth into this. And I think what makes it such a brilliant challenge for me is my character has 0 lines. So I don't say anything. So
Wow.
early on, my goal was to be a fully realized, fully fleshed out character in this storyline and make my
Mm.
presence known and clear in every way possible, knowing that I have to do it without saying anything.
Is that
So that's
harder?
what makes it fun. It
I
for
would
me,
think so.
it is
Okay.
hard. It is harder, I think. I think
Mm.
that it was something that I had to lean into at a certain point in the rehearsal process very early on in the beginning, because I am used to just being a dancer and being just like in the ensemble. But having this feature moment and the way it's specifically tracked in the show lends itself to doing different things than I'm used to.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, you know what, challenge accepted. I'm used to like hitting the step, as we say, and doing the 8 count left and right. But it's like this time around, I have this other thing that I think can grow me in a different way. So yes, it is harder, but it's definitely something I found my groove with, and I'm very proud of what I'm doing.
Wow, that is awesome. Wow. I look forward to seeing you for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
me too.
yeah, yeah, I plan on coming. And I know, there is a historical component to Moulin Rouge, the musical specifically. There's some factual references because this was a real thing back in the late 1800s. Can you kind of speak to the impact and influence that still today, because I think from there it introduced cabaret, the
Mhm.
can dance. Can you kind of speak to how some of those influences are still felt today?
Yeah, I think that there is a certain level of unapologetic freedom that
Okay.
comes with owning what it means to be in a club that's rooted in like sex work and rooted in, survival. I think
Okay.
that these creatures, I almost want to call them, in the
Yeah.
Moulin Rouge were truly just like
Wow.
finding their way of life and on their own terms. I think that that is so rooted in like the Moulin Rouge in Paris and its like original inception and like into the movie, into the musical. And I think some of that is sort of like found in our version, but I do think that in our rehearsal process, they were really adamant about trying to find the period and the times
Right.
and not get too contemporary with it, because
Yeah.
music obviously is pop music and contemporary secular music. So it's kind of a fun way to like do your history and like read up on it and find a way to be historically sound, but
Okay.
also know
Really?
that it is contemporary, updated piece. So like, the choreography's funky and it's groovy and, but we're like, don't be too contemporary.
Right.
So, the thematically, truth, beauty,
Yeah.
freedom, love, those are all universal themes that we all love and desire and chase as human beings. And that will never go out of style. So that is like, the main tagline for the show that definitely organically rings true today.
Right. No, that's really cool. Yeah. And like outside of rehearsals, how do you kind of prepare for your role? Is there any other methods that you do outside of just the regular rehearsals?
Yeah, I mean, now we're about a year in at this
Yeah.
point. It's
Okay.
sort of second nature, to be
Okay.
completely honest. It's
Yeah.
it's it's maintenance for sure in terms of the dancing side of it, especially for the artists in the show who do the heavy lifting in terms of dancing. But really, I think for me specifically, it's just trying to find creative fulfillment in a way that balances it, because at the end of the day, you're doing the same thing 8 shows a
Yeah.
week every night.
Right.
So, you're dancing on the
Repetitive.
same side, you're performing that same line, and it can be a little
Sure.
difficult and taxing and monotonous. And it's always for me just trying to find other creative outlets outside of the
Mhm.
show that
Absolutely.
balance the work so that I feel like I am still progressing and whole and growing.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely. Because, yeah, when you do something repetitive, it kind of loses its shine. And so, but for those audience, that is their first experience. So you have to try to, yeah, make sure that you bring it the same every night. No,
Right.
that's really good.
And
What do,
traveling helps with that.
yes, does it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. And with that, with travel, like, how do you kind of help yourself stay physically and mentally refreshed, right? Are you one, I got to get 8 hours of sleep, go get massages? Like, do you?
Yes, literally all that. It's so funny you say that. I feel like for 2023, I've been really trying to like lean into my mental health, physical health, wellness, and finding that version of that package that works for me in this situation. And what's cool is the show does support us in that regard.
Mhm.
So yes, massages, and like a recent discovery for me has been this facility called Restore Hyper Wellness that does like IV drips and saunas and cryotherapy and
Okay.
like exploring new ways to find the balance, because in my 20s on Broadway, I definitely was aware that that is something that can keep you going, but I wasn't sure that I was taking it as seriously, because when you're younger, you can handle,
Mm.
your body getting banged up and you're dancing and you're doing all these things. You're just like dealing with the pain and the ailments and the mini injuries. And I was like, wow, I really wish I'd paid more attention to like what could have helped supplement my
Absolutely.
journey and help me along the way. So like this year in particular, I really am leaning into that. And it's kind of cool to feel better just
Yeah,
by taking it
absolutely.
seriously. I'm just like, I feel better. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, that has a domino effect because it will ultimately you will be able to be a better performer. Yeah. So that's awesome that you're doing that. And it's so important, both the mental and the physical, I'm sure,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah. So that's awesome. And I know, I don't know if you know this, but we are a minority owned and operated publication, and we also have other digital platforms. And so I always like to ask this question when I'm speaking to someone that looks like us, right? Can you kind of speak to that? Like, you know, what has it meant for you as a minority to be able to inspire the next generation when they're able to look out and see someone like you, on that stage?
Yeah, it's such a poignant, beautiful question. And I always try to think about my beginnings and think
Mhm.
about who I saw and what inspired me. And I think that it's a mix of what I saw, yes, on in the media, but I think even more so, it was just a inner fire and a desire that I had to kind of meet myself at the place of what I wanted. And I think that for me, when I try to go out and teach master classes and do even beautiful like talks like this, it's something that I feel like I must say, which is give yourself the chance.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, like don't listen to somebody who may say you're not capable. And
Okay.
don't listen to the people who feel like because of the color of your skin or because of where you live or your family or your upbringing or, you know, your financial bracket, you're not able to access these things because you are, you know, and exposure is such a huge part of my journey. And I'm grateful that I had parents who were very adamant about making sure that if there was any sort of thing that we could do, we were doing it. And if we didn't like it, we didn't like it. But at least we got to experience it. We got to be exposed to it.
Nice.
So for me in particular, I think that it means a lot talking to like you at the North Dallas Gazette to like
Oh, thank
really get to like be around again somebody who looks like me. And in this particular situation, musical theater, it's difficult, right? Because I'm used to being socialized, entering the industry to be like, there's one spot for a person that
you.
looks like me. And my
Right.
first Broadway show, I was quite literally one of two people of color on the stage. And to be in this musical post-pandemic, where I'm one of like 7 to 8
Mhm.
is growth and a
Mhm.
step forward. And it has changed my experience because I feel like I have a community. I feel like I'm connected. I feel like, you know, we can lean on each other. I feel like
Mhm.
there is now multiple iterations of us that you can see on stage, and that can
Mhm.
inspire the many different people that look more like this one and look more like that one. I identify more with that character or identify more with their energy, their approach, their
Mhm.
gravitas that they're bringing to the stage. And I think that that's very important too. So it's
Um,
been a very different experience in theater being a part of the show, but one that is definitely worth it for me.
Absolutely. No, and I'm sure seeing that is encouraging, seeing that progress. And probably it goes past beyond the stage, yeah, where you're
Yes.
seeing, yeah, yeah, minorities take on certain roles. Wow, that's really awesome. Yeah, and you mentioned you do a master class. That's great. Is it a uh
Yeah, when I'm reached out to or when it, you know, a connection's made, like I often try to like teach a dance master class, musical theater style master class,
Okay.
teaching the original Broadway choreo I've gotten to learn or teaching, you know, choreo from the show. And
Mhm.
for me, the biggest part of that class, whenever I teach it, is the talk back. I do a Q&A at the end of every class I can, because I think that that connection matters just as much as the dance artistic connection, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome and definitely an opportunity to get perspective and advice, I'm sure, because I'm sure you get a lot of questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Once they
Uh-huh.
get warmed up to me,
Yeah,
they're like
right.
really scared and quiet. But like once they get
Yeah.
warmed up, like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have a warm personality, so I'm sure it doesn't take long for
Thank you.
people, yeah, to warm up to you. Yeah. And so how many cities have you done so far, Shara? And how many more are left on the tour? Like it goes till, yeah, I'm sure how long?
That's a great question. We
Yeah.
have been through, I mean, our first year has been, we always say we're a little spoiled. Like not every tour is a production level contract, as it's called, and not every tour has a schedule that is as wonderful as ours has been.
Really?
In terms
Okay.
of, like length of stay, cities we're attending. So I want to say one, I'm going to do a quick count. One, two,
That's okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have to be past or either on or past our 10th city.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what is announced at least goes through the fall of this year
You should-
at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
where it'll end there.
I want to say end. It's like
Okay.
it's like
Yeah,
we can
that's
say as much as we can say, but like
sure. I got you.
that is as
Yeah.
far as it's
As you
announced that
know.
it's going. Yeah, that
Okay.
we know.
Have
Yeah.
you been to New Jersey yet? Have you had the opportunity to
No, the
perform?
closest we're gonna go is Philly, which is this
Philly?
summer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll have some family, I'm sure, that'll come up and be able to
Oh
support
yeah.
you. Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, I have family down south as well, so we're going to
Okay.
Atlanta, and they're gonna come there.
ATL.
Right, ATL
Yeah.
is
Oh,
close to them too, so they're gonna come there. So it works out for me, for sure,
sure.
in
Yeah.
that regard, like in the next month or so.
No, that's awesome to be able to have family in the audience for sure. Yeah. So is this your first time in Texas, or I'm sure you been here before or performed here before?
This is actually my third time. I
Third time?
performed at
Okay.
this very theater that we're at currently twice.
Oh
It's
wow.
a
Okay.
regional theater that's connected and housed there. So this
Okay.
is the third time. So it interestingly enough feels like a
Oh,
second or third home, I guess, in terms of
yeah.
like my theater journey. So I don't feel this sort of looming pressure to like get out and do all the things.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I've been here. When we go to our next like Texas city, we get
Yes.
to Dallas. I'm like, let's do it. Let's go.
That's right. You just have maybe your go-to, gotta get maybe some barbecue or something like that, right? And then you're
Quite
like, maybe
literally.
you're done that.
Yep. Yeah. The
Yeah.
aquarium, the mall, the thing. Like, yeah, I've done that.
That's right. Well, we are so glad to have you in our fair city. Sharrod, we wish you all the best.
Thank
Yeah, as you continue to do what you love. And thank you again for your time and certainly just being so willing to talk to me. Yeah, it's
Of course,
fun.
anytime.
Yeah, well, I plan on hopefully being able to see you perform next week.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my hope. So, yeah, I'm excited about it for sure. I
Sounds
am.
good. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, I know I will. I've not yet been disappointed. All of just every time, it's just been phenomenal. So,
Yes, we love
yeah,
it. We
it's
love it.
amazing talents that y'all are. So thank you again, and you
Thank
have
you.
a wonderful rest of your tour here.
Thank you.
You're
Have a good one.
welcome. You too. What a fun interview with Sharrod Williams, and we hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. If you want to purchase tickets, please head over to BroadwayDallas.org and remember the upcoming production of Moulin Rouge, the musical, will be in our fair city from March 15th through April 2nd at Dallas Music Hall at Fair Park. Thanks again for tuning in. Bye-bye.